everyone, it's me. My name is Alanna and I'm a Canadian, but I have been living here in the UK for the last 8 years. You guys said, Alanna, shut up, sit down. You need to react to Jimmy Carr's most offensive jokes. And I said, say no more, let's do it. So have a seat, get cozy, put your feet up, maybe get a drink. And without further ado, let's go. All right, everyone, well, here we go. This is your warning. I don't know what we're about to hear, but this is a warning, okay? We're in this together now. What's interesting is when you YouTube Jimmy Carr's most offensive jokes, multiple compilations come up. So there's a lot to choose from. Today we are starting with Riskiest Jokes Volume 1 from Jimmy Carr himself. Here we go.
Wetting your bed is embarrassing as a child, but as an adult, wetting a child's bed is mortifying. It's almost impossible to explain that shit away. I bought a rape alarm because I kept on forgetting when to rape people.
YouTube, okay, I need to explain something. YouTube, if you're listening, go easy on me, okay? Oh my God, imagine taking your elderly parent to Jimmy Carr. Maybe your elderly parent likes Jimmy Carr. We shouldn't stereotype. But we are literally 17 seconds in. And I think this video is gonna get taken down.
I was a kid, I was scared of the dentist. He was a paedophile. I suppose that begs the question, how many fillings did he give me?
Oh, God.
I met an incredible girl on the internet. Smart, sexy, uninhibited. Of course, it turned out to be a 12-year-old paraplegic boy. I'll be honest, the sex was disappointing. Oh, I think we've reached a barrier there, haven't we? And we will laugh at that and nothing more.
That looks quite old.
Fair enough.
I don't want to make a big deal of this, but I recently adopted a newborn African child. He was just £7, plus postage and packing. That's how they get you. If only they'd put holes in that box. And that is the joke, interestingly, that Richard Curtis said was a bit much for the comic relief gig.
Oh, lordy.
When I was younger, I couldn't talk to women because I was hiding in their wardrobes masturbating. I would have totally given it away. You didn't see that coming, did you? Oh, I've written a rom-com. I wanted to tell you about this. I've written a romantic comedy. It's about a guy and a girl. Classic. Yeah? Initially, they hate each other. Classic. But they end up in bed together. Classic. It's called The Rapist.
How are we doing, everybody? You know what? If you have a favorite British comedian or perhaps like a favorite moment of British culture that you'd like me to react to, leave a comment down below. I have lived in the UK for 8 years, so I know of Jimmy Carr. I've never been to his stand-up before or like watched his specials before, and I've certainly never heard so many of these particular types of jokes. Now, maybe it's not your cup of tea, and that's absolutely fair, right? Humor is different to everyone. I would be so interested if people ever, like, they must walk out. Do you know what I mean? But also you must know what you're going to, but then there still must be some percentage of people that walk out. I'd be so fascinated. Like, what's the percentage?
I often get asked, are you ever going to get married? I don't think I ever will get married. I mean, you can't get married at 16 without parental consent. And that's not going to happen. They still think she's dead.
What?
Did you all read that story about the girl that was kidnapped and kept in squalid conditions for 18 years? Did you read that story? Was I the only one that read that story and thought, 18 years in squalid conditions? Have a tidy round. Make a house a home, you lazy bint. Say what you like about the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They can work to a deadline. I saw the chief of the New York City Police on the news. He said, we will never forget 9/11. I thought, I should fucking hope not. It's your phone number.
That one got me by surprise. The funny thing about moving to a foreign country, I found, especially in the first like year, was pop culture. It's not something that I would learn about in school, obviously. It's not something that maybe you think about when you move to a foreign country. You're thinking about like, where am I going to live? Am I going to do lots of traveling? Where am I going to work? Like getting a job and stuff. But you don't actually think about the like day-to-day pop culture stuff. And that's something that I really struggled with at first. None of the game shows made sense to me. Like I couldn't get any of the questions. I didn't know any sort of like British celebrity other than like the biggest like A-lister movie stars. And it was like this whole world that I had no idea what was happening. And Jimmy Carr was one of those people. So I would have seen him 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown. When I first moved here, I didn't have a job and I watched a lot of daytime reruns. And I remember seeing that show, didn't know any of the people on it, didn't know who he was, didn't know any of the questions, like no pop culture at all, which is probably a weird concept for all the British people watching because you have probably known Jimmy Carr since he's been popular. Like he's so well known now. It's hard for me to remember what it was like when I was like, who is this man? It's like a different lifetime. And at the time I saw 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown first. So I didn't know that there was an original show. I thought that was the original show. All right, how about this one? Jimmy Carr's most offensive jokes as chosen by Martin. Curious to see what Martin thinks are his most offensive. Here we go. Oh, this was 13 years ago.
Asked after the show. The most common question after a show is, what's the most offensive joke? What's the worst joke? Now, I don't think I can tell you the most offensive joke. Because I think offence is taken, not given. That's not just an expression. That is how it tends to work. Different people take offence at different things. So I can't tell you what the most offensive joke is. But we could see. We could start gentle and work our way up. And see at what stage, as an audience, you go, oh, for fuck's sake. Well, let's start gently. Baby steps. All right, we'll start gentle. Very sad when Princess Diana died. And all London got was that shitty fountain. Still better than Paris. All they got was a slow down sign. Do you remember where you were when you heard Diana died? Yeah. I was in Kensington Gardens thinking this place needs something.
God.
The Twin Towers.
Okay, so we go from Diana
was the best of the Lord of the Rings films.
to 9/11.
No, the Twin Towers. Do you think it would have seemed less tragic if they hadn't been twins? I'll be honest with you, I feel more sorry for the people in the second tower than the people in the first tower. Do you? Because the people in the second tower, imagine that. Imagine you getting to work one morning, the building next to yours, identical to yours, gets hit by a fucking plane. What's your first thought going to be? We dodged a bullet. Unlucky. 5 minutes later, oh, for fuck's sake. People say dolphins are really intelligent. I think, yeah, but only compared to the retarded kids we got them swimming with.
This video is going to be so... YouTube's going to be so upset. Okay, well... I mean, what can you say? Now, people suggested I react to this, but I'd love to know, like, what is your, like, peak sense of humor? Is it Jimmy Carr? Is it... Think of another comedian off the top of your head? Who's the Scottish one that I love and I can never understand what he's saying? Oh my God, I can't believe that. What's his name? Frankie Boyle. Are you more of a Frankie Boyle? Because he can be quite offensive as well. But yeah, I'd love to know what people, like, what kind of comedian do you align with? Now, this is obviously just compilations of some of Jimmy Carr's more, like, risky jokes. I don't know if his stand-up is largely, like, really short one-liners and less about, like, story building. You know, you see comedians, a lot of them, it's like, they tell, like, a really intricate story and there's, like, a payoff at the end. These are very much just like one-liners, like, how offensive can you be? But I'm not sure, is his whole set like that? Is it just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other? I will say, I have been to one comedian live show here in England. This was before 2020, sometime. I'm not really sure when. I saw James Acaster live. He did a show down here in Kent. James Acaster, I love that sense of humor, like really sort of deprecating. He's got really interesting stories as well. I ended up reading one of his books. I'm not sure if he has multiple, but I definitely read one of them, the one with the cabbage, and it was so good. So yeah, if you have a favorite comedian, British or otherwise, leave a comment down below. Maybe we can check him out. This video is very obviously going to be demonetized. It is what it is. Let's skip ahead then, eh? Because you shouldn't. Here's the thing. If you react to a video, don't watch all of it. That's so rude. But can we sort of maybe get to the more offensive scale? Let me see if I can find it.
Now, the most offensive joke in the world, if you judge it by offence caused, yeah, the kind of consequence of the joke, rather than the content of the joke, is actually a cartoon done 4 years ago, yeah? Caused more offence than any other joke in human history.
Not good.
It was
for
of
YouTube.
Muhammad with a bomb as a hat, done by a Danish man. There was protesting all over the Islamic world. They don't like iconography at the best of times. They certainly don't like people taking the piss. 3 Danish embassies burnt to the ground and 10 people lost their lives in rioting. All because of a joke about somebody's imaginary friend. I'll be honest with you, I think some of the Islamic world slightly overreacted. I think the Iranian government slightly overreacted. They decided to boycott all Danish products. Now, I'm not sure they were doing a roaring trade in pornography, beer and bacon before. So that is, for what it's worth, the most offensive joke in the world ever. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming to the show tonight. Thank you so much for...
I mean, this was uploaded 13 years ago. I don't remember or know of when this particular set was. It looks pretty old. But at the time for this set, that was Jimmy Carr's most offensive joke, although it wasn't his. Fair play. How long is this video? This is probably too long. Let's just leave you off with one more. All right. I hope this wasn't offensive. It's all in jest, right? We're all just having a laugh. Something like that. Let's just do one more.
I've got a question for you. Child cruelty, what do you think? Good thing, bad thing? It's a bad thing, yeah. Well done, sir. I think it's universally acknowledged that child cruelty is a very bad thing, and yet there are adverts on our TVs every day saying don't smack children. Never an excuse to smack a child. I think they should have to take a little bit of the money they spend on those adverts telling us not to smack our children and spend a bit on an advert aimed specifically at children. Simply saying, behave. Let's face it, there's no smoke without fire. No one's putting out cigarettes on children that are just quietly colouring in the corner, are they?
Oh, God. Okay, one more.
Tell you what, let's talk about religion. That couldn't possibly upset anyone.
Oh, God.
If Jesus is the way, and to be a Christian is to be in Christ, then aren't all Christians just in the way? Jesus says he loves me, but I worry about the age gap.
Okay, we have to stop. I'll tell you what. One parting thought, if you're still with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Canadian and British humor is very similar. Of course, a lot of Canadians have British heritage. I certainly do if you go back far enough. But something that I find that we really lack is this kind of like brutalistic, I don't know how else to describe that type of humor. I feel like you would not see this in Canada. Canadians, leave a comment down below, tell me otherwise. But I feel like if this was a set, what we've watched, if this was a set in Canada, that we would probably have an issue. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to watch more comedy, how about British comedy? Definitely check out this one. I reacted to Would I Lie to You? One of the best shows ever. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, bye!